What's up? I am back. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the horizontal box or HBox in JavaFX. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the horizontal box. And the horizontal box arranges its children in a row style, which means that if you are going to add HBox here and add nodes inside the HBox, let's say buttons, the buttons are the children if you are going to add the HBox and a button. So I would like to add more button. As you can see that this is the row style, which means if you are going to add nodes in an HBox, the nodes will going to place their position in a row style, which is something like this. And as you can see that the buttons are touching each other, and if you would like to add space in between of them, you can select all the buttons and add margins, and you can see the margin at the layout tab here at the inspector, and add margin at the left side, let's say 50. Alright, and I would like to add margin at the top, another 50. So this is how the HBox works in JavaFX. So if I would like to add more button, you will need to modify the margin as well. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a simple application with horizontal box and vertical box. Alright, so here at the fx layout.fxml, I am going to add the border layout, BorderPane layout, and I'm going to add a HBox inside the center. Alright, you can add HBox and HBox directly at the layout or here. So I have an HBox inside, and I would like to add horizontal box, I mean the vertical box, VBox. Alright, so we have an HBox and VBox here. I would like to add label and also another VBox at the right side. Alright, like this one. Let's resize the border pane and also the horizontal box, I mean the vertical box, something like this. Alright, so I'm going to add a text field at the right side, and let's rename the label as first name, and the other one will be the last name. Okay, and I'm going to resize the label, let's say 30 or 25. Alright, as well as this one. Let's make this 25 and resize the border pane again. Okay, I'm going to add margins in between of them. Let's say 20. Nope. 15. How about 15? Okay. and the margin at the right side, I mean the left side, let's say 10 or 20. How about 40? Okay. As well as the VBox. I'm going to add at the top. How about 30? No. 10. Alright. And I'm going to add another HBox here inside the VBox, and I'm going to add buttons. This will be save and cancel. And change its margin. $15, and let's resize this. All right. So that's it. So I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share, and I will see you in the next video. What's up? I am back. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the VBox or vertical box in JavaFX. So if you are working with VBox in your JavaFX application, the VBox does the same for columns. So if the horizontal box arranges its children in a row style, then the VBox does the same for columns. Alright, so I'm going to add the VBox at the center, and I would like to add another buttons to see how it looks. Alright, so the VBox does the same, and if you would like to add space in between of them, you will still modify the margin, something like this, and also at the left side and at the top corner. Alright, so that's how the vertical box works in JavaFX. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a simple application with horizontal box and vertical box. Alright, so here at the fx layout.fxml, I am going to add the border layout, border pane layout, and I'm going to add a HBox inside the center. Alright, you can add HBox and HBox directly at the layout or here. So I have an HBox inside, and I would like to add horizontal box, I mean the vertical box, VBox. Alright, so we have an HBox and VBox here. I would like to add label and also another VBox at the right side. Alright, like this one. Let's resize the border pane and also the horizontal box, I mean the vertical box, something like this. Alright, so I'm going to add a text field at the right side, and let's rename the label as first name, and the other one will be the last name. Okay, and I'm going to resize the label, let's say 30 or 25. Alright, as well as this one. Let's make this 25 and resize the border pane again. Okay, I'm going to add margins in between of them. Let's say 20. Nope. 15. How about 15? Okay. And the margin at the right side, I mean the left side, let's say 10 or 20. How about 40? Okay. As well as the VBox. I'm going to add at the top. How about 30? No, 10. Alright, and I'm going to add another HBox here inside the VBox, and I'm going to add buttons. This will be save and cancel. And change its margin. $15, and let's resize this. All right. So that's it. So I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share, and I will see you in the next video. What's up? I am back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the FlowPane in JavaFX. So the FlowPane is a simple layout pane that lays out its children in rows or columns. So the FlowPane is something like the HBox and the VBox in JavaFX. So let's say, for example, if you have a JavaFX application and the user can resize the window, which is something like this. If you have a JavaFX application, let's assume that this is your JavaFX application, and let's say I am the user and I can resize the window. If the window getting smaller and smaller, and the FlowPane will do the same as this. So I hope you get the idea of and how to how the FlowPane works in JavaFX. So alright, so let's get started. So here I am going to show you 2 steps on how to use the FlowPane, or how to create the FlowPane in JavaFX application. So the first step I'm going to show you is to create the FlowPane manually, or code it manually in JavaFX. So here I am going to create the FlowPane layout. So let's say root equals new FlowPane, and I'm going to import the FlowPane package, and let's create the scene. And let's call the root variable, and let's set the window size 400 by 400, and let's import the scene package. Alright, now I am going to set the stage, set the scene to stage. So stage that set scene, and call the scene. Alright, and now I am going to set the title of the window, stage that set title. Let's say understanding FlowPane, and let's show the stage that show. Alright, now our FlowPane is empty. I am going to add nodes inside the FlowPane, which are the children of the FlowPane. So I'm going to create a button here. Button v1 b1 equals new v button and let's say button 1, and let's import the button. You must select the JavaFX scene control button. Alright, and copy for 5, let's say 5 buttons inside the FlowPane. 3, 4, 5, and also these. Alright, now let's add the buttons inside the FlowPane. So I'm going to call the root that get children, and add all b1, b2, b3, b4, and the b5. Okay, so let's try to run our application. And now our application is running. So you can see that it is something like the horizontal box. And if you are going to resize the window, the FlowPane let its children flows horizontally or vertically, something like this. And if you are going to add gap in between of the nodes, you can do this. Root that set each gap, let's say 20 or 15, and also the v gap, root that set v gap 15. Like this. Okay, there is gap in between of the nodes. So if you are going to set the orientation of the pane, you can do the orientation, set orientation, root that set orientation to vertical. So because we are using the horizontal lately. Alright, so that's how you use the FlowPane in JavaFX. But this is kinda hard one, so we will use the easiest one, which is using the scene builder to make our FlowPane easier than the first step. Now I'm going to drag a FlowPane here, and let's add buttons inside the FlowPane like this. Alright, so to set the properties of the FlowPane, you can go here at the inspector and collapse the properties here and set the row alignment to center. You can explore here, and column alignment to center, something like that, and alignment to center like this, orientation to vertical, and to set the H gap and the V gap here at the layout tab, 20 and 20. And now we're going to set the orientation again to change the orientation to horizontal like this. What else we can do here? We can also set the where is it? The padding and effects. You can add effects in your FlowPane. So that's it, and I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video. What's up? I'm back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the border pane layout in JavaFX. So a border pane satisfies all the layout requirements for a typical Windows-based application. And the border pane is the most often used as a root node for a scene because the border pane divides its layout area into 5 regions, and these are the top, left, right, bottom, and center. So the border pane uses 5 regions to place its content or child nodes. For example, a menu bar or a toolbar at the top, a status bar at the bottom, navigational panel on the left, additional information on the right, and the main content in the center. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a border pane and show how it works. And let's get started. Open your NetBeans IDE or whatever IDE you have, and let's get started. Here, the first step I'm going to do is to create an empty border pane. So border pane, and I'm going to call this as root equals new border pane. So now we have an empty border pane, and to fix this issue, to fix this error, let's import the layout border pane. Alright, what's wrong here? Border pane, okay. And now let's create a scene. Equals new scene. And let's call the variable root, and let's create the scene size 400 by 400, and let's import the scene package. Alright, so next is to set the stage. To set the scene to the stage. So let's call the stage right here, and let's set the scene. Alright, and what to do next is to set the title, stage title. And I'm gonna name this as understanding BorderPane layout. And finally, to show the stage. So stage.show. Alright, we have now an empty border pane, and what I'm going to do now is to create 5 buttons for each regions. So to create the buttons, we will have to create a button like this. Button, for example, left equals new button, and I'm gonna call this, name this as button 1. Alright, and let's import the button. You need to choose this one right here, and I'm gonna copy this and paste it down here. 3, 4, 5. Alright, and this would be top, right, bottom, and center. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now to set the button to each region, we will have to we will use the root variable root, to set the region left, and call the buttons here. It should be left. Root that set right, top, and top. Root that set right. Okay, and the other one will be button, bottom, and the last one will be the center. Okay, now we have a border pane with buttons inside the regions, and let's try to run this program to see how it looks. Okay, and this is how it looks like. So as you can see that our buttons are in their specified region. So here at the top, left, right, center, and bottom. So to make it look better, we will modify the sizes of the button. So to do that, I'm going to go here and set the sizes. Left, that set preferred size. It could be left 100. Let's try 100, and it should be double that max value. And the top, set preferred size, double that maximum value, and 100, as well as the others, right, bottom, and center. Right, bottom, and center. So for the right, this is minimum, this is the width, it should be 100, and double that maximum value for the bottom. I think it's okay, and we need to replace this to double that max value. Alright, and let's run this program. Okay, this is how it looks like. So this is the top one, left, right, center, and bottom. So that's it. And to make these looks better and easier, you will use the scene builder. So I'm going to drag a border pane layout here and button, and that's it. And if you are going to resize the buttons, you can easily do this to make it looks better and easier. Okay, and if you are going to modify its properties, you can go here, layout, and whatsoever. So that's it, and I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video. What's up? I'm back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the StackPane layout in JavaFX. So from the word stack, a StackPane lays out its children in a stack of nodes. And the StackPane is very simple to use. For creating a JavaFX application and has features that can be able to overlay nodes, the StackPane is the powerful one to use. So let's get started. Here in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a StackPane, how to add nodes in the StackPane, and do something else on what we can do here. Okay, and I'm going to create an empty StackPane, and let's name this as root new StackPane. Alright, so we have an error here. Let's just simply import this JavaFX layout StackPane, and we'll create the scene for our StackPane. And let's pass in the root variable and import the JavaFX scene. Okay, and let's set this scene to stage, our scene to stage. Set main stage that set scene and scene. And let's set the stage title. Understanding StackPane layout. And we will show the stage that show. Okay, so we have now an empty StackPane. What I'm going to do now is to create a node and add it inside the StackPane. For example, rectangle. I'm going to create a rectangle here. So let's name the rectangle as rect new rectangle. And let's set the rectangle size. For example, 300 by 400. And let's import the rectangle. You must choose the JavaFX scene shape rectangle to avoid any errors. Okay, and let's set the rectangle color, set fill, color that we can choose whatever we want here, colors. I'm going to choose the chocolate. And let's add another one node label. Say learning JavaFX. And import the label. You must choose the JavaFX, not this one, to avoid any errors. And let's change the font style and the font size. Label that set font, new font, for example, Arial. The font size will be 25, and import the font. Choose this one. Okay, and now we have nodes created, and we will add the nodes in the StackPane. So let's simply call the root that get children that add all. This one, correct, and label. Okay, and let's try running this application to see what that looks like. All right, so this is the StackPane, and let's try changing something else here. Let's say 400 to 300, and let's change the label color, text color, label that set text fill, color that white. Right, and let's run this again. Okay, so let's try to add one more node, for example, button. And let's name our button as button. And import the button, JavaFX scene control button, and add the button here. All right, this is how the StackPane works. So if we are going to add action event here, if we are going to click the button, let's change the button alignment. So let's try that one. Let's try that one. Simply call the root variable and set the, let's try to add the button action event. Set on action event, and let's use the lambda expression. So let's call the root, let's set alignment, and call pass the variable btn here, position value, that bottom center. Let's try this one. Okay, so if we are going to click the button will change the alignment. And let's run this application here. So now if I'm going to click this button here, the button will go here. All right. So what I'm going to do next is to show you how to create the StackPane using the scene builder. This is the most easiest one to uh, design your scene. So I'm going to add StackPane and add something else here. Let's say, for example, web view. Okay, and let's add a button. So let's replace this one and add. All right. So if you were going to make any changes in your layout, just go here, the properties, and modify something here, or the layout tab, modify something here, and here. So that's all, and I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video. What's up? I'm back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the TilePane layout and JavaFX. So TilePane lays out its children in a grid of uniformly sized cells known as tiles. TilePane works similar to FlowPane, but the only difference are their height and width. In a FlowPane, rows and columns can be of different width and height, while in TilePane, the width of the widest child node and the height of the tallest child node are the default width and height of all tiles in a TilePane. So in this tutorial, I am going to show you how to create a TilePane, how to add nodes in a TilePane, and let's see how we can do that. And let's get started. So here I am going to create an empty TilePane. TilePane root equals new TilePane. And let's import the TilePane layout. So let's create the scene for our stage. Scene equals new scene. And let's pass in the root variable. And let's declare the size of the scene. Let's say 400 by 300. And let's import the scene. So let's set the scene to stage, to our stage. And let's call the stage.set scene and pass in the scene variable scene. Yes. And let's set the stage title, set title, understanding TilePane. TilePane layout, and let's show the stage. Stage.show. Alright. What I'm going to do now is to add nodes inside the TilePane. For example, I'm going to add the name of the 12 months in a form of buttons. So I'm going to use a for loop for month, for each month, at values. Let's use the values method here. It returns an array containing the constants of this enum type. For example, this. And let's use this. So I'm going to create a button object, and button, let's name the button as btn variable equals new button and import the button. Make sure to select this JavaFX scene control button, not this one, to avoid any errors. All right, and import that. And I'm going to add some parameters here. Month that toString to make it programmer friendly. Yeah. All right. So we have created a button, and I'm going to set the button size, set maximum size, and double that maximum value. And also the maximum height, double that max value. So we have created a button and fixed its size. So what I'm going to do next is to add the button inside the tile pane. So let's call the variable root and get children and add button. Okay, and let's try running this program. Okay, this is how it looks like. This is the tile pane. It works similar to FlowPane. So you can see, yep. So I'm going to add the H gap and the V gap here. Let's go here. So maybe here we can do here. Root that set H gap, let's say 5, and also the V gap. Set V gap. All right. And let's run this again. Okay, this looks better. This is how the TilePane works in JavaFX. So I'm going to show you how to create the TilePane in Scene Builder. This is the most easiest way to create scene in JavaFX. So let's drag in the TilePane, and let's add nodes inside the TilePane. Button, this, yep, I think this is enough. And you can modify the properties here. The tile pane, you can set the tile alignment like this, orientation, horizontal, vertical. Yep. That's it. That's all. I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I will see you in the next video. What's up? I'm back. In this video, I'm going to show you on how to use the GridPane in JavaFX. So the GridPane lays out its children in a dynamic grid of cells arranged in rows and columns. It is called dynamic because the number and size of cells in the grid are determined based on the number of children. The GridPane is one of the most powerful layout panes in JavaFX, but it is also a bit complex to learn. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you the basics of GridPane, how we can create the GridPane, how to add nodes inside the GridPane, and also show you the easiest way to use the GridPane in JavaFX. And let's get started. So the first step I'm going to show you is to create the GridPane. So So let's import the grid pane layout to fix this error. So now we have an empty grid pane, and I'm going to create a scene for our stage. And let's pass in the root variable here and declare the scene size. And let's import the scene package. All right. So let's set the scene to our stage. So stage that scene set scene, and let's show the stage. Stage that show. Oh, I forgot one thing. I forgot to set the stage title. Stage that set title understanding grid pane layout. All right. So now we have an empty grid pane, and what I'm going to do next is to create child nodes and add the child nodes to our grid pane. So I'm going to create a button here. And let's name the button as button1 also, and import the button. Make sure you select the JavaFX scene control button to avoid any errors. And I'm going to copy this line of code here and paste it below. And let's change the variable to button 2 and 3. Also these. All right. So to add nodes inside the grid pane, we can do this. We can do something like this: root that get children that add all. Let's add all nodes inside the grid pane. Button 1, button 2, button 3. All right. And let's try to run our application to see what that look like. And now our application is running, but the result is unexpected because the buttons are overlapping. So to fix this issue, we can do something like this. Let's say grid pane that set constraints. The first parameter is the node. The second one is the column index starting at 0 because the index from the grid pane is starting at index 0. And let's use the first one here. So let's call the button 1 as node, and let's leave this 0 for now, and let's copy this code and paste it below for our buttons. And let's change the variable to button 2, button 3. This is for column and this is for row right here. And let's try changing this to 1 and 2, and let's try running this program. Yes, this is set. This is how the grid pane and this is how the grid pane works in JavaFX. So let's try the row. Right. So there are different ways to add nodes inside the grid pane. So let's try those. So we can add nodes directly at, we can add nodes uh, in the grid pane at the same time. So let's try button 1 that add, root that add row So this is for row index and child node. Let's say 0, and this one will be button 1, and copy, paste. And let's change the index to 1 and 2. So yeah, this is the output. The same output, different code. So let's try the column. That's it. That's how you add nodes inside a grid pane. There are one more step to add nodes inside a grid pane. So let's try that one. We will use the for loop. So int column is equals to 0, column that less than 3, and this is for row. And let's create the button here. And let's add the variables column and row here. And let's add the node inside the grid pane. So root that add the node and the column and row. So button and column and row. So let's set the button size. Button that set maximum size, double that max value. All right, and let's try running this program. This is the output. Interesting. So column 0, row 1, row 0, column 1, row 0, column 2, row 0, row 1, column 0, row 1, column 1, row 2, row 1, column 2, and that's it. So let's try adding H gap and V gap to our grid pane. We can do set H gap. Let's say 10. Root that set V gap and 10. And for example, if you are debugging the grid pane in JavaFX, we can show the grid lines here. Root that set grid lines visible to true, and button that set visible to false. Let's see what that looks like. This is it. This is column 1, column 0, column 1, 2, row 0, row 1, and 2. That's it. So let's proceed to the easiest way to use the grid pane in JavaFX. So we will use the scene builder, and let's try adding a grid pane layout here, and let's add nodes inside to our grid pane button, and let's add one more column here. That's how you add columns inside the grid pane. Row. All right, that's it. So if you want to modify something here, we can go here at the properties, grid lines visible, alignment, effects, style sheets, and at the layout, age gap, padding, margin. Uh, that's all. So that's how you use the grid pane easily in JavaFX. So that's all for now, and I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video. What's up? I'm back. In this video, I'm going to show you on how to use the AnchorPane layout in JavaFX. So I'm going to cover on how to create the AnchorPane, how to add nodes inside the AnchorPane, use the scene builder to create an AnchorPane easily, and show you how the AnchorPane works in JavaFX. So the AnchorPane lays out its children by anchoring the four edges of its children to its own four edges at a specified distance. So the purpose of the AnchorPane is for aligning the children and stretching the children if the AnchorPane is resized. And let's get started. The first step I'm going to show you is to create the AnchorPane, add nodes inside the AnchorPane, and show you the AnchorPane works. And I'm going to create an AnchorPane object here. AnchorPane root. So I have an empty AnchorPane here. We can add nodes in the AnchorPane by specifying the child nodes inside the parameter, or leaving the AnchorPane empty and add the nodes by using the getChildren and add nodes or add all. All right, and let's import the AnchorPane for now. And I'm going to create the scene object for our stage, for our AnchorPane, and pass in the root object here. And let's import the scene. And let's set the scene to our stage. So I'm going to call the stage variable that set scene and scene object. And let's create the stage title, stage.set title understanding AnchorPane layout. And finally, let's show the stage.show. And now we have an empty AnchorPane. And what I'm going to do now is to add nodes inside the AnchorPane. So I'm going to show you two options to add nodes inside the AnchorPane. We can do something like this. Let's say button btn equals new button, and I'm going to name our button as button, and let's import the button. Make sure you select the JavaFX scene control button, not this one, to avoid any errors. All right, And I'm going to add one more, like let's say label LBL and new, and name our label as learning AnchorPane, learning AnchorPane JavaFX. And let's import, alright, and let's import the label. Make sure you select these. Alright, so to add nodes inside the AnchorPane, we can use something like this, btn, specify the nodes inside the parameters of the AnchorPane, and a label. All right, we can add something like this, or add nodes using the get children root that get children that add node, or use this add all btn comma lbl, something like that. We can add nodes in the AnchorPane easily. So first I'm going to show you if this works properly. And let's run our application. As you can see, our nodes are overlapping because we have an issue in the AnchorPane. So please keep in mind that using the AnchorPane and adding nodes inside in the AnchorPane, the nodes are placed at 0, 0 axis in the AnchorPane. So to fix that, we can set the constraints of the AnchorPane. So we can we can type in the AnchorPane that set, let's say top anchor, and the child node, let's say label for now, and double 30, so 0.0. all right, and the other one will be button AnchorPane that set bottom anchor btn, and this would be 40, for example. And let's try to run our application to see what that looks like. All right, this is how it looks. And if we are going to resize the AnchorPane, the buttons are placed at the bottom side, bottom edge, like this. So if I am going to set the anchor at here, at the right side of the button, we can do something like this. AnchorPane set right btn 40. All right, and let's run our application. Okay, if I'm going to resize the AnchorPane, the buttons are placed at the right corner, bottom right corner of the window. If I'm going to add more anchor in the button, for example, AnchorPane that set left anchor btn and another 40, and run, you will see something like this. If I'm going to resize the window, the button itself are resizing also. That's it. So if you are going to create or use the AnchorPane in JavaFX, we can use the scene builder to create the anchor pane easily in JavaFX. And we can add the anchor pane here, anchor pane layout, drag and drop. And let's add nodes inside the anchor pane. Button, say at the center. And to set the anchor, you can go here at the layout tab and click here, click here, click here, click here, whatever you prefer. All right, let's say for example that's it, and preview the window. We can do something like this. Let's say for example this one. Let's deselect this one and preview. That's it. And I hope you learned something new in this tutorial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video.